well, that was it. I hope you enjoyed listening to that. Let me know what you thought. I think why I like this album so much is a lot of that kind of 80s production sound makes records sound dated now. I mean, you look at some of the instruments listed down here on the track listing. There's something called a dobro or dobro, if you know what that is. It's like a resonating guitar. There's harp, saxophones, a melodica, which we just heard on the last track. Wonderful instrument. Depeche Mode fans will be aware of the melodica, I think. So yeah, that's The Colour of Spring. Their highest placing album of original material in the UK at least. It made number 8 in the album charts, and when the band delivered it to EMI, they said they couldn't hear a hit single, so they very quickly came up with the track Life's What You Make It, which was track 3 on side 1. And again, that's very much based on krautrock, that kind of repetitive piano figure and the drums, and it's got that kind of David Rhodes guitar going over the top of it. Really stood out, from what I can remember, that really stood out on the radio in 1986. So yeah, an album I love. I hope you enjoyed it too. So where did they go from there? Well, that was their most successful album in the UK. So EMI gave them a load of money to make the next album. Now this next album is the only one of theirs we don't have on vinyl, for shame. I've got it on CD, Spirit of Eden. If you've not heard it, that is something completely different. I think it's out of this world. It's the kind of album where you've got to listen to it headphones on, laying out on your sofa, and just, again, it's a bit of a cliche, but just immerse yourself in it. I first heard this album when it came out in '88, when I was 17, and I thought, God, that's rubbish. That's nothing like the one that came before. I think it's something that gives up its treasure over a period of time. I came back to it again when I was 30, when I heard a track off it on a Chill Out compilation album, and I thought I'll check that out again. So 20 years ago I came back to it, and that is an amazing piece of work. I mean, EMI gave them the money, and they spent over a year, I think, recording it. They used loads of different musicians. Entire takes and sessions would just be wiped because Mark Hollis and Tim Freesgreen didn't think they were good enough. It's very hard to describe, but once you've found your way in, it will reward you. So please, if you've not heard it, go in with an open mind and listen to it. And once you get it, you really get it. So that was The Spirit of Eden, released in 1988. EMI hated it. It was not commercial at all. So to try and recoup some of the money, EMI released a greatest hits album of Talk Talks, which they weren't very happy about. And then to compound that, they released EMI an album of remixes, which put the tin hat on Talk Talk's relationship with EMI. And so they were, I don't know whether they dropped or their contract came to an end. So that was the end of Talk Talk on EMI in 1988. Then in 1991 came out with this, which has just been re-released on vinyl, Laughing Stock. By this point, Paul Webb, the bass player, had left. So the only two original members left were Mark Hollis and Lee Harris, the drummer. Pretty much more of the same of The Spirit of Eden. But they were signed to Polydor for this, who released it on their jazz label, which I think was Verve. I think that's right. It's fair to say that this wasn't the album Polydor were expecting either. Yeah, but that's the last Talk Talk album under the name Talk Talk, 1991, Laughing Stock. And then in 1998, 7 years later, Mark Hollis produced this, his only solo album. Again, that's just been re-released on vinyl. That's something else, again, completely different. And that was it. He did that. There's various different collaborations on that Tim Freeze-Green wasn't involved. And that was it for him. He'd come all he needed to say. He was involved in his family. I'm guessing he was probably making pretty good money off the back of his what hit singles they'd had. So he retired, never to be heard of again, apart from the odd collaboration. I think there's a little bit of soundtrack work, and he resurfaced to accept an industry award for the song. I think it was the song "It's My Life" in about 10-15 years ago, and that was the last time he was seen in public. So sadly, he died last February, age 64. But he's given us a fantastic legacy of music. There's a kind of, not a beauty, but just the way that he'd said what he needed to say. He didn't need to say anymore. He didn't like being a pop star or being famous. So after the Colour of Spring tour, they came off the road, never played another note of music in front of an audience again. And that was it. But Paul Webb, who'd left before they made Laughingstock, has been releasing his own records. So he goes under the name Rustin Man, and I can't remember what year this was released. I think it was about 2003, 2002. He released this with Beth Gibbons called Out of Season. Beth Gibbons is in Portishead, and there are other, Adrian Utley from Portishead is on this record as well. So if you like Portishead, and if you like Talk Talk, that's definitely worth checking out. And then last year, just under Rustin Man on his own, he came out with this, Drift Code, which he made. I think he plays everything on it. He wrote it all, produced it all, performed it all in a farmhouse in Essex, which sadly for him is on the flight path to Stansted Airport, so he has to keep stopping while planes fly over his house. But that's definitely worth checking out. And then he shocked us all a couple of weeks ago when he brought out this, Rustin Man, Clock Dust. So, but that was recorded at the same sessions as Drift Code. But they're worth listening to as well, if you like, especially the later period Talk Talk. Anyway, so that's Talk Talk and various other projects. I think we're going to do some more of these. If you've got anything that you would like to do, or you would suggest for us to do, or you would like to do it yourself, then let us know via Facebook, Meetup, Twitter, whatever. We have got somebody lined up to do one, which is going to be completely different from Talk Talk. It's a mid-80s album, but it's completely different, but I think it's worth your time listening to it, but that will be announced in due course. So thank you for listening, hope you've enjoyed it, and see you soon. Thank you.